project.
Correct.
Okay. Questions for Representative Meredith? You're recognized for an inquiry.
Thank you. So this one brings up a lot of questions, I think, for a lot of us. I'll ask a few, but I suspect there will be a lot more. So I think in concept, I'm really excited about this idea of raising the minimum state salary, or the minimum salary for teachers in our state. I think we've all seen we're one of the lowest around and in the country even. But this proposal, I guess I'm trying to understand some of how it works. Do you know how many districts have teachers that make under 38,000?
Yes, we have approximately 527 LEAs that have one or more staff members below that threshold number.
527 out of
554.
So the vast majority have somebody. So is this just teachers, or is this other staff too?
Just certified teachers.
And 520 something out of 550 something?
Yeah, and it seems a little high probably.
It does.
But I can tell you, even within a given district that might have a salary schedule that starts at 38,000 or higher, they might have full-time certified substitute teachers that are not on the schedule in that regard. So there may be
that are salaried, full-time salaried substitute teachers that are making less than what their minimum pay is for teachers.
They're making within at least the state minimum, which is 25,000. So that's one example where there might be an outlier in a given district, even though most of their staff are above that threshold.
Okay. But in those schools, it would probably be significantly fewer.
Ones or twos or threes.
Ones or twos or threes.
Yes.
How many actually have starting teacher pay below 38,000?
As far as LEAs go, I don't have that particular number in front of me, but we can get that for you.
Now, I guess, how is this getting distributed to them?
So it's envisioned as a 70-30 matching grant. And so just for clarification, there is a minimum teacher salary statute operating separate from this. It has a minimum salary of $25,000 that's been in place for many years. This is separate from that or above and beyond that.
We wouldn't be raising that with this, right?
It would take separate legislative action to do that part of it. This is a 70-30 matching grant to where, as we envision it right now, the districts would apply based on their staffing levels in a particular year. We would verify those salary amounts and then provide up to 70% of that difference for them.
Okay. This is kind of a weird question to ask, but does this approach with this grant then kind of reward the schools that have been underpaying their teachers?
I don't think that really is the likely outcome of this, given the fact that everybody is struggling with staff and it gets more schools onto a level playing ground. I don't know what the behavior in the out years might be. It's hard to predict at this stage, but I think everybody wants to pay their teachers as much as they can, especially in the environment we're in right now.
Well, I certainly agree, and what I would rather see is help to give raises to all of our teachers at all of our schools. You know, I think about in some areas, maybe a district has to compete directly with a neighboring state, for example. I think of SLPS, which I'm guessing SLPS probably doesn't have many, if any, teachers below this number.
I think you're correct.
I think that's also true in Springfield. That's probably also true in Kansas City. So this money wouldn't be going to help those schools raise teacher pay at all, right?
Correct.
But those school districts already are having to compete with the neighboring states that have higher, like Illinois is going up to 40, I think, next year. And so those schools have to compete with them. But now we're making it where also the other districts around them that pay less, that are in less competitive markets, will also pay more, perhaps pulling even more teachers from those areas with those schools that had to pay teachers higher. And so those schools will also have to raise their salaries, but won't get any state support to do it.
I think that's a fair statement based on what information we have with this particular grant program. This is, in our minds, a first step in a larger, longer process of a broader discussion involving all of our stakeholders across the state.
Okay, and I mean, I don't want to understate how strongly I agree with that first step and effort. I mean, I want our teachers to make more. I just want to do it in a fair way that actually raises all of our teachers' salaries, not one that actually rewards schools that maybe have low local tax rates and so have been underpaying their teachers more egregiously. And then the state's going to come in and help them catch up to everyone else. But we're not going to do anything to then help the schools that have been paying more of their local funds for better teacher pay. Are you discussing other proposals at all before this budget moves further? Are you open to us looking at other ways to structure this?
As always, we're more than willing to work with the legislative body on how this might help our teachers and all of our LEAs moving forward.
Okay, because I'd really like to work with you all. I think most of us would in getting teacher pay boosted, but I would just love to see us do it in a way that really makes sure all of our teachers at the bottom are boosted. Also, this doesn't address compression issues, right, at all?
Correct.
So this would give a grant for them to raise their base teacher salary, but then teachers that were making just a little bit more than that won't see an increase necessarily, or everyone making less than 38 gets increased to 38, and then if they want to address compression above that, they have to do that with their own funds. They wouldn't have any help.
I think part of the 30% match requirement is to encourage the local investment that you described, and it would be up to the local district to address any compression issues as well.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. And again, the local match, I think I'd have less of a problem with if everyone was eligible to do it, to raise their teachers' pay, that everyone could apply to raise pay with a grant, regardless of how low their teachers are now. But this just feels like a situation where even the ones that get these grants might be stuck in a situation where, or those that don't, they're having to raise teacher pay to stay competitive. They're having to raise other teacher pay to deal with compression issues. And then meanwhile, we as a state are funding the bare minimum of a foundation formula that 6 years ago or whatever was adjusted to make us pay less, and where the schools are only getting less now than 40% of their transportation budgets funded by the state, and we're continuing to starve them on that front. And now we're saying, but it's time to raise teacher pay. Good luck, guys. Meanwhile, we stay the lowest state-funded education in the entire country. So, it sounds good. We're raising teacher pay. But I would just love to see us actually investing in our schools in a way that's competitive with other states.
We're certainly open to working with the body about any efforts in those lines.
Thank you.